Xiaomi now has a huge 16-inch RedmiBook available in their low-cost RedmiBook line. The Chinese maker clearly took visual cues from the Apple MacBook Pro 16, but they choose to cater to the entry-level market with lower prices. It uses the brand-new Ryzen 4000 processors, which have 6 or 8 CPU cores, or the Intel Ice Lake architecture, which has 4 cores, along with a dedicated NVIDIA MX350 graphics card. For this purpose, we examine the least expensive entry-level model in our test, which is a 6-core Ryzen 5 4500U, 8 GB of RAM, and 512 GB of SATA SSD. The RedmiBook 16's casing has a striking resemblance to earlier Mi Notebook Pro models. This is by no means a bad thing, and given the price range, it's a really effective strategy. The sturdy aluminum case has a premium appearance and is torsionally stiff enough. Although it falls short of its model, the Apple MacBook Pro 16, it easily triumphs over plastic cases in this price range. From its predecessor, the dimensions are drastically different. The base area of the 16:9 display is bigger but narrower, and the enclosure is significantly thicker. Xiaomi can utilize bigger ports in the RedmiBook in exchange. Xiaomi divides the connections between the case's left and right sides. The first USB-C port that is already built in also serves as a power outlet and a display port. Unfortunately, we were unable to simultaneously utilize the DisplayPort and charge the laptop because the power transmission wasn't functional with the two tested displays. Fortunately, the HDMI connector supported 4K and 60 Hz flawlessly. The performance of Apple, Anker, and Innotek USB-C chargers was identical. The USB-A port on the right also came as a surprise because it only supports the outdated USB 2.0 standard and performs storage media operations quite slowly. The Kensington lock and card reader are completely absent. Xiaomi employs a low-cost Realtek 8822 CEWLAN card with Wi-Fi 5 capability. The RedmiBook performs on par with the other 11 laptops we tested using the same hardware. The Realtek performs well in comparison to other AC cards, such as the vintage Intel 8265. Faster Wi-Fi 6 hardware, like that found in the NVX 360, is more recent. There is no dedicated number pad because the built-in Shaky keyboard has the same layout and style as the Xiaomi Mi Notebook Pro. Sadly, Xiaomi has removed the RedmiBook's backlighting. As of right moment, the laptop is only available as an import from China with the US layout. The keyboard was generally well received, and we were able to type just as quickly as we could on our functional keyboard. However, I felt that the sensation was a little too squishy. The housing center contains a huge glass click pad with excellent sliding capabilities. Unfortunately, there are no built-in mouse keys, and the touchpad's hinge, which allows it to be squeezed into the bottom 2/3 of the screen, is a little shaky. As a result, there is no discernible pressure point, and only the lower half of the touchpad may be effectively pressed. However, 2 and 3 finger movements are ideal. The display's response speeds are not the fastest, but they are standard for a 60 Hz IPS panel. The measured values, however, are somewhat better than the class average. Xiaomi doesn't using PWM to regulate brightness. As a result, sensitive individuals can utilize the panel without limitations in low-light situations. Even at extreme viewing angles, the IPS panel impresses with a solid color display and no brightness loss. Only information on the CMN1604 variant, which has the following specifications: 300 nits maximum brightness, 89 degrees viewing angle, 60 Hz, and WLED backlight, is available online. In our brightness tests, the matte surfaced screen comes up just short of 300 nits. A less than ideal lighting of only 78% is the outcome. The bright dots in the upper corners are plainly apparent in the cloudy image, but only to a limited extent with longer exposures. Additionally, there is some LED backlight light leaking at the bottom edge. Our test sample's 1572:1 contrast ratio is so good that it even exceeds the requirements. With a Samsung SATA 3 SSD, an integrated Vega 6 graphics card, a powerful Ryzen 5 4500U 6-core processor, and 8 GB of DDR4 to 2667 RAM operating in dual channels, this entry-level machine has a respectable combination. The RedmiBook 16's Ryzen 5 4500U is unquestionably one of its best features. The 6-core processor's price-performance ratio is exceptional. Given the cooling system that is in place, it can easily overtake the pricey Ice Lake Core i7 to 1065 G7 in the test. with the average Ryzen 5 3500U trailing by a respectable 27%. Multi-core benchmarks initially hit the maximum turbo of 4 GHz, but subsequently the clock rate drops to roughly 3.8 GHz. Using UL's PC Mark products, we measure overall system performance, with 6 cores running at high clock speeds, dual-channel RAM, and an SSD. The RedmiBook can perform well in this test. Despite having a faster SSD and quicker RAM, the substantially more expensive HP NVX 360 cannot produce higher average results with the same CPU. The prominent benchmark, the MacBook Pro 16 with a powerful Radeon Pro 5500M and Core i9, is only typically 3% faster. Intel rivals with pricey Core i7 to 1065 G7 processors perform 12% slower on average. Although it was already a part of the Ryzen 3000 series, the integrated Vega 6 graphics card has undergone major redesign work for the new Ryzen 4000 Plus and now operates at a faster clock speed. This can be seen in the performance as well. Although the inbuilt Vega 6 is comparatively powerful for an IGPU, it is still insufficient for today's demanding games. The majority of games just require the minimum graphic details at low quality. The Intel-based device's GeForce MX 350 GPU gives a much better performance. Regarding surface temperatures, the cooling system is also believable. Even with a heavy load, we only recorded a hotspot temperature of 38 degrees Celsius on the upper side. The SoC hits 86 degrees Celsius CPU cores as its highest temperature, before settling at a respectable 70 degrees Celsius at maximum fan speed. At 66 degrees Celsius, the integrated GPU stabilizes. The low temperatures are also not caused by throttling or slow clock rates. 3.8 GHz is the CPU's constant speed during this intense load test. According to our test, the Ryzen 5 4500US cooling is effective. The device is silent when idle and working under light loads because the little fan is turned off the majority of the time. Even at lesser speeds, such as when loading resource-intensive websites and the fan begins to turn, it is still pleasantly quiet. We only recorded 34 decibels or so during gaming, which is excellent. With a maximum of 42.2 decibels, the fan noise is still considered to be fairly inconspicuous, even when the load is at its highest, due to the RedmiBook's low power consumption and the factory setting, which only forces it to shut off at 2%. The relatively small 48 watt-hour battery lasts a long time. Direct comparisons with the competition show that the RedmiBook holds its own well. At lowered brightness, a full workday in battery mode is not problematic. And cheap office multimedia laptop from Xiaomi, the RedmiBook 16, features an effective Ryzen 5 4500U processor and an integrated graphics card. The appearance of the case is very evocative of the aluminum-cased good Xiaomi Mi Notebook Pro devices. The RedmiBook is plainly inspired by the Apple MacBook Pro 16, however unlike it, it is priced the lowest of any laptops. The new Ryzen 5 4500U can really show off in this situation, and even its low clock speed and lack of upgradable main memory only minimally hinder performance. With the integrated Vega 6, the graphics performance is not particularly strong, making the RedmiBook unsuitable for gamers. Here, the Intel model with the MX 350 ought to be far more potent. The surfaces keep cold, the fans remain silent, and the CPU is properly cooled. Since the battery life of our test device would not discourage mobile use, it could be a little brighter at its highest setting, so that the laptop could be used more effectively outside. Good energy efficiency makes it possible to work all day with lower brightness. Due to the fact that the device was only available in China at the time of this review, customers in Europe must contend with the usual obstacles, such as lengthy delivery times, customs and import taxes, expensive shipping fees for returns, potential problems in the event of a defect, Chinese windows, and the fact that there is currently only an American keyboard available. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit the like button under this video and subscribe to the channel. Have a nice day and see you soon.